What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you guys so much. I'm always appreciative when you guys come through on a Friday. We could be doing a whole bunch of other things, but we're here, it's a family, and we're rocking on a Friday. Spook Realm 4Q, you are still number one, 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 one. Please, please, hit the like button if, I'm going to switch the order around. Hit the like button if you get a chance. It helps the algorithm. So if you hit the like button, then YouTube will see that there's people that like the channel, and then more like-minded people will come to the channel. So please, if you get a chance, hit the like button. And the book, which the audio, I feel like I'm going to should be dropping it before Christmas time. I'm hoping in the next week. I'm hoping. But you can pick up the actual book in the link in the description below. And big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. I love you guys. Um, Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can see. Supreme Divine, what up? Y'all had a whole conversation going here. I'm going to try to move quick. Gregory Nettis says, yo, Kenny, Nas's premiere album dropped today, and I got to say, Mobb Deep and Nas's premiere album is the best. Is the beat. I meant to say the best. Word up, son. I know you love Nas, and I had a chance to listen to the Nas album this afternoon. I was listening to it on YouTube, so I might have to go back and listen to it again in headphones, but I gave it a skim through. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Explicit Hip Hop, what up? Um, Abdullah Muhammad, what up? Abdullah says, brother, what's up, brother KP? Another Friday catching a lot. Peace and love from South Philly. Big up Philly. Wifey is in the other room watching her shows, but sends her love as well. What up, wifey? You can come through and take a little peek at what we're doing and go back. Mike Rocks, what up? Dre Star, Dre Stack Dollars. Thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. It's much appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The super chats help the channel a lot. Let me move quick. Let me move quick. Daniela Dawn Freeman says Nas' new album is an instant classic. Mike Rocks 25, what up? J Wu 72, Yale University in the house. Ivy League. Um, Tons of conspiracy theories coming out of Yale. DJ Q Storm, what up? Happy holidays. Oh, shoot. Right, Justice, today in hip hop history, Lonnie Wood, better known as Phase 2, died on December 12th, 09. Oh, yeah, my brother used to mention Phase 2. As those that don't know, KRS is my brother. My brother, Chris, is a big graffiti artist dating back to the early 80s. And he has songs about these guys, and he talks about them, and I've heard him mention Phase 2. So Rod Justice, how you feeling about Light Years and Nas and Premier? I'm gonna get to that in a hot second. Rod Justice says Light Years is not the common Pete Rock magic. Let's see. Imperial J, the MC, what up? Let's see. Juggler Rocks, what up, KP on a Friday Night Fairs? G Doyle, man, how many names do y'all have? Repping one half of the Doyle brothers. Big up the Doyle brothers. And RIP Fly Tie and founder of Coachella Records. Yes, we talked about Fly Tie on Tuesday. Rest in peace to Fly Tie. Early pioneering hip hop executive, mogul, record company owner, and African American record company owner too. Big up to him. Latrice Washington, what's going on? Um, let's see. Silk Child 75, what up? Uh, I'm about to fall behind. B-Boy Joneson. I say this every week. Every week I try, y'all. And every week um, I fail. KP, are you doing an audio version of the book yet? Yes. And I've been saying for about a year and a half that it's coming, but it's really, I'm trying, I hope to drop it before Christmas. What's today, the 12th? Hopefully. That's the goal. Um, and are you doing a book signing? Yeah. My copy is still fresh. I'm trying to set up some more book signings and with the audio book do like a relaunch coming up for 2026. So stay tuned for that. Um, Patrick Y, what up? I believe this is 49 and Neil, what up? Uh, Jason Wall, the Nas and Premier album getting criticism on social media. I love the old school beats and hooks, and but thought Nas sounded pedestrian and boring as usual. Wow. And Dr. Charles Bombay says new Nas might be his second best album. I love Primo put scratching back in hip hop. So that's why I always say there's no such thing as dope and whack. And I say that all the time on this channel. And that's a classic example. One person is saying that Nas sound pedestrian and boring as usual. And another person is saying this might be his second best album. I'm assuming that Illmatic would be the best. So this is the best album since Illmatic. Back-to-back comments, and both of you guys are correct. Reggie 2023, what up? Brunswick, what up? Riding Dirty Face, what up? DJ Dominic, I was listening to Premier Nas as the show started. Um, I'm just trying to get the shout-ins before I give my opinion. Just another opinion in the pile. Straight Heat TV, repping Flatbush as usual. Um, Ridge Shot, what up? Philly Sheed. Let's see. Mr. Barakwa. Is it Barukwa or Barikwa? But what I can't pronounce your name. I don't want to mess it up. Let me say I don't want to mess it up because I mess it up every week. But big up. Kenneth Smith, what up? Wow. DJ Premier most definitely past his prime. Wow. Donald McCall, what up? Okay, let's do a couple more of these and then I'm gonna jump into my opinions. And everybody has an opinion, and this is a big album. This is probably Nas and Premier is probably one of the most anticipated pairings that we've all been waiting for in decades, maybe ever. If you look at great pairings that people really like in hip hop history, you look at Dre and Snoop, you look at Pete Rock and CL Smooth, that people, might be interested in seeing come back. Although Dre and Snoop did an album last year. Um, Anytime the RZA and Wu-Tang get together, people always likes that. But I don't think any of those can compare to the amount of people that over the years have said they want to hear Premier and Nas get back together. And they always do a song or two on their albums. Well, used to do. Premier will jump on and do a couple. But the past decades or so, Premier and Nas has not really worked together. And so here we are. It took 2 years, almost 2 years from the time, because I remember the Super Bowl was 2 years ago around the Super Bowl time. They announced that Nas announced that him and Preem were doing an album. And I think he surprised Premier when he said that. He just threw that out there. And so what was I gonna say? And so that was the Super Bowl of, I believe, 2023. And here we are, the ending of 2025. So it's been almost 2 years. So this is 2 years in the making. And in the meantime, they both have jumped on other people's stuff. Nas has done a lot of rhyming this year. And Preem has done a bunch of projects in the past couple of years. Um, and now here we are. And like I said, I've skimmed through the album this afternoon. And first, I must say that when I listen to an album, I try to do two things. One is not try to compare them to the past. I'm not trying to, this is very difficult, but I'm not trying to say, is this going to be like Illmatic? Is this another Illmatic? If it's not like Illmatic, then it's not going to be good. I'm trying to say, see where they are now and see how they sound. And I always say, if the artist can sound like themselves, then I feel like it's a good album. So if Nas sounds like Nas and Preem sounds like Preem, then I'm good. So that's the first thing. I try not to compete with the past and try to listen with today's ear. Secondly, I'm trying to see what they're trying to do as a project. Like, where are they going with it? Like, what am I trying to get into their mind frame of what they're trying to do? And so I believe that Nas and Premier were not trying to be commercial at all. I believe there was the thought process. I don't know if it was a thought process or it came naturally, but there is nothing commercial about this new album. It is strictly underground sounding album, as we probably wanted from Nas and Premier. Now, me as a person, I along with everyone else, loves when Premier does his scratches, but I also love hooks. And I also say that I always feel like songs are not complete if it doesn't have a chorus. And so as a person that like hooks, I would have liked to have heard a few more hooks on this album. I believe there's almost none. Um, there's a song with Nas and AZ, I believe. And keep in mind, y'all, I just heard the album one time through, so I don't even know the order in which I heard it or whatever, or how many people or guest appearances are on it. But I know that Nas and AZ did a song together, which sounded like kind of like they had a hook and they were going back and forth. But for the most part, it's Premier doing his scratches. So it's strictly underground. And then for me, Nas is gonna be Nas. I feel like Nas has pretty much got into the Nas rhyme pocket for the past, I'd say at least 15 years. He's been in this certain pocket that he's in, a rhyme style and a rhyme cadence. And so Nas is pretty much gonna be Nas. So then it basically comes down to, do you like the beats or not? And for me, I don't know how many songs are on the album. I told you I was just listening to YouTube. I listened to a bunch of songs. I don't know even if I heard all of them. I think I did. And so I'm looking for cream beats that make me go, oh yeah. For me, there's about 4 or 5 on there. To me, that's like, ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. This is that nastiness. And then there's probably like 2 or 3 others that I thought were cool. I could see where they were going with it. Thought it was okay. Like it's cool. It's not whack to me. It's not dope. It's okay. I could see where they were going with it. And then there's probably like a few others that I just like. the track is not really moving me. But for me to like 5, 6 songs right off the back, I tell you, like I really had my head nodding. That's a lot for me. Um, and I'm gonna go back and listen to it again to really get a better feel because this is a very important album. And a guy was mentioned on YouTube, I can't remember his name right now, I think it's JT something, was talking about how fortunate we are to even get a Nas and Premier album. Premier does work all the time, you know, I guess he's never going to stop. But Nas is, some people are reporting that Nas is approaching a billionaire. He has so many projects going on and so many business ventures. He doesn't have to do this. His legacy is solidified. His Rock and Roll Hall of Fame space should be solidified. Nas doesn't have to do any of this. He's doing it strictly for the love and strictly for us. And so, with that, I am grateful that Nas and Premier did an album. And there's a few that's really banging on there that I feel like a classic preem sounding head nods. There's a lot of dustiness on there. There's this one dusty beat that's just, it sounds like it just has two horn stabs, some drums, and crackling. That's it. Just dan, dan, and crackling and drums. And it's just dope to me. The way Nas is on it. He has a record dedicated to the women, dedicated to ladies. At first, it was dedicated to like ladies, and then he switched it to ladies of hip hop, and he named everybody. Um, I could see where they were going with that. He has a song dedicated to graffiti writers. I could see where they was going with that. Biggie has another song with a dedication. I can't remember, but overall, I think it's a good album. Um, I got to go back and listen again. There's some songs on it I was just like, I don't know this track. I don't know. But then there's tracks like I said that's and I don't mean to critique. Preem is my brother, so and I think he's another one who if he stopped making beats right now, his position in the history of music is solidified. I think no one has done more dope beats than DJ Premier. Nobody. I didn't say more hits. I said more dope beats. Nobody has done more dope beats than Premier. And so we're also judging him against the past, but nah, I was rocking with it. Some people are saying, the guy said Nas sounds boring. I don't know. He sounds like Nas. He didn't really sound like he took any chances. He didn't sound like he was taking chances. He sounded like his cadence is pretty much the same on most of the tracks, his cadence and rhyme flow. So it's basically up to Premier to kind of take things where it's supposed to go. That's just my opinion. I'm interested to see what you guys think. But as my first pass through, I'm not in any position to, as a producer myself, who am I to critique DJ Premier? But just as a hip hop fan, I'm speaking as just a fan of both of them. And this is my opinion. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit to the bottom. So I just want to see what you guys think. But that's my long-winded take on the album. A very important album. Crusher Blackwell says KRS doesn't speak a lot on his former label imprint, Entertainer Records, through Electro. What caused the demise of that? I'm not sure. Um, Honestly, I don't know if Chris is cut out to be a record executive. And the games that you have to play and the amount of time that it takes to sit there and babysit, I don't think he got it in him because he took a big A&R job, I don't vice president of music or something at an imprint at Warner Brothers back in '99. He moved out to California and the whole thing and took this job and was there for less than a year and he couldn't deal with it. He just like, I gotta go. And left oodles of money on the table and they were begging him to stay and he stepped off. And I think looking back at Elektra Edutainer Records, I think Chris should have been a little less hands-on. Be hands-on as part as the artistic part, but the business part and that stuff, I think he should let somebody run it. Somebody like me. I would have loved to run Chris's record label, but that wasn't in the cards for me. But that's what I think happened. Uh, so let me. I'm gonna miss a bunch of comments, but I'm gonna scroll down. Uh, Explicit Help says, Kenny, that song KRS One did 20 more years of hip hop. Does KRS let you hear most of what he drops before he releases songs? And no. The only time I hear songs pre-released with Chris is when I'm around him or I'm in the studio. Whenever I catch up with Chris, he's always playing me. Let me, check this out, check this out. Or he'll have a video he's doing. I'll usually ask him what you doing, and he'll play. Listen, I worked on this, and he plays this, or he'll show me a video. I'm working on a book, and he'll show me this, or he'll tell me something that he's doing. But if I'm not around him, I'm not gonna hear the stuff. So sometimes I hear stuff the same way you guys hear it. Actually, most of the time. Uh, let's see. I'm gonna scroll down a little bit. Uh, B-Boy Jones and what up? DJ Joey Joe, what up? Bill Shapiro, what up? Bill Shapiro, best primo lately is a cut above Ransom. I really like that Ransom. I really like that Ransom song. I mentioned that a couple weeks ago. You know what else too? I saw a Wise Intelligence record today on my feed that I liked a lot. It's Wise Intelligence and some girl was singing. It was dope. Rod Justice says, I have tired of Nas. Is it because he drops a lot of music? This is because he's dropping multiple albums a year and he's on a lot of people's stuff. Are you tired? Is he oversaturated or are you just tired of his style? Um, Benny Doyle. In the history of Clarity Scrolls, he's about to after that Nas review. Yes, I am. Jerome Street says, the old school vibe was genius to me. Sometimes you have to let it marinate. Yeah, but in this day and age of short attention spans, do we even let stuff marinate? You are right. There's quite a few things that I didn't like at first, and then I had to let it marinate, and then it grew on me. Um, but and then again, for a guy like for Nas and Premier to drop a project, we are the expectations are you shouldn't have to let it marinate. The expectations are right out the box, plug and play. Patrice Washington, I'm not a Nas fan, but I love that AZ collab. Just like I'm not a Jay-Z fan, but I love when him and Beans link up. I'm a fan of both of them. Rod Justice, my DJ friend like 5 songs. Get Ready was dope. Welcome to the Underground. Pause tapes. That's Pause tapes is banging. Riders is banging. Pause tapes was banging. And Bouquet to the Ladies. There's a couple others I liked too. Um, Chris Morale says it was genius how it was mixed. It feels like something I would do. No fancy effects. I believe that they are trying to take it to the essence, I would say. Um, take it to the essence. And I believe that they purposely was not trying to have a bunch of bells and whistles, which I appreciate. Rod Justice says, my DJ friend did not like the joint with AZ on it. I thought it was okay. I gotta go back and listen. It for some reason it felt like they did a song just because you wanted them to do a song. I don't know if it was because I don't know if it felt organic. It just felt like they just rhyming. I don't know. Yeah, platform. That pause tapes, Kenny, with that crackling. Yeah, that pause tape record was hard to me, man. That was hard. Um, Joey Joe says, I feel like the Nas and Premier album has been anticipated so long that whether it's dope or average, it will never be up to what Mass wanted to be. I'm just wanted to be a solid album. That's where I'm at. It could never ever reach the what you think it could. It can't. It Illmatic is so ingrained in the hearts and souls and the fabric of hip hop, and you keep competing with that because he's had other great albums. Like I said, I love Stillmatic was dope. God's Son was dope. Just going back in the early 2000s, and yet, you know, now we're gonna see because if something gets on the radio, if he shoots more videos, things could grow on you. So we'll see. Um, Platform. Hey Kenny, I feel the same. Premier has the biggest bag of dopest beats ever. Yes, yes. Wonder how many beats he's actually put out. Probably it has to be in the hundreds for sure. Wonder if it's like 300 or four, five. He's put out hundreds of tracks. Probably upwards of 500, probably. Patrick Watts says, KP, do you remember Eddie Chiba? I remember the name. If you do, he was probably the first to have a hip hop radio show. It was around 1980. It used to come on Saturdays at 10 a.m. low on FM dial around 91.1. I don't remember that. Um, he was before Jerry Bloodrock and all those guys. Jerry Bloodrock and Mr. Magic. Uh, Vine Existence says, Peace, KP. Yeah, that stripped down, crackling horn stab song is Pause Takes. That's my personal favorite on the Nas Premium album. Yeah, that really caught me too. There's a couple that caught me too, but that and it's so simple. But Nas's flow on there is really simple. Is really dope too. Not simple, really dope. Um, oh yeah, the Steve Miller sample on its time was such a standout on the record. Yes, I like the Steve Miller sample. Um, Steve Miller Band. It said featuring the Steve Miller Band. I guess to clear it because I didn't know if they came back in and sung. It just sounds like he took parts and made a beat that was kind of like the beat, but he manipulated it a little bit. And maybe I guess to clear it, Steve Miller was like, it has to say featuring because it does go do 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 do. He used that in the time. Yes, I like that as well. I like that Steve Miller sample. Yes, I did. That's one of the songs that I like. I liked how it moved. Um, Flowetry, what up? Says I heard the album once while I was working. I need to hear it some more before I really can say but I heard some good stuff. Yeah, that's how I feel too. I gotta hear it again um to really like break it down. But my first pass through the minds of Nas and Premier, this is my assessment. Jerome Street, what up? BDP, yes, sir. I will always be BDP. Um, Even though there's no more BDP, I will forever be BDP. Chris Morales says, when KRS worked at a label, who did he sign? Well, when he was at Elektra, he didn't really work at the label. That was his label. And he signed the Heal Project, a group called Skadanks, a reggae group called Skadanks. It was a white reggae group. They was gonna be really dope. And this is before Informer. I think Informer came out and took their shine. But this was a real reggae band. They was dope called Skedangs. We got Rocket T, and he signed Heather B, those three. And it was supposed to be other groups that he signed, but they fell to the side. One of them being Jamal Ski. But he took the Columbia deal, and then Heather moved in his spot. And then when he was at Warner Brothers, who did he sign? I know he gave, I cannot remember who he signed. There was a kid named Iborn out of the Bronx. He signed. He had an MC named Thorell. I don't think any of them came out. Iborn, Thorell. He was doing something with Cool Mo D. None of this stuff came out. He did a whole album dedicated to Cool Herc. That didn't come out. He's working on a few things that year, and then it just all just went away. They spent a lot of money and never put nothing out. Markeith Bankroll, Nas and DJ Premier's Long Awaited album is finally out, KP. Was it worth it? Yeah, I just talked for about 10 minutes on it. And to sum it all up, yeah, it's worth it. Just the fact that it's Nas and Premier and they decided to bless us with their presence, really. Because they didn't have to do it, and they did it. That in itself is worth it. And then there's joints on there. Um, Even if you don't like, first of all, there's no artist on earth who I like every single song they do on an album. There's artists that's close. There's albums that's close. But there's joints. If I could like multiple joints on your album, that's good. There's joints on there. Um, but I gotta listen again. Platform said, "Hey Kenny, I just wish the Nas Premier album had an intro, outro, and some beat interludes or skits." Yeah, but I guess he wanted to be different, I guess, from De La, whose album I loved, by the way. Um, they went straight. It's almost like you was in Preem's crib and Nas was there at Preem's crib and they was just making songs right there. It almost sounds like um, they did the whole thing in one day. It almost sounds like Nas was here, Preem here. I got some beats, I got some scratches. Let's just go. It sounded very stripped down, which Illmatic was kind of. But I would say that Illmatic was even more musical than this album. This is really stripped down. But Illmatic had more different producers on it, though. B-Boy Jones says, how does one tire of dopeness? Anything that you have too much, you get sick of it. Pizza is one of the greatest inventions to me of all time. But if you ate pizza every single day, eventually you get sick of it. I have a friend that lives in Florida, and the weather, she says it's 80, 85, 80 degrees every day, and she gets sick of it. She wants the seasons to change. I'm like, what are you, crazy? And she's like, sometimes you get sick of living in paradise. And I'm like, and she's from New York. I'm like, man, I want to live in the 80 degrees every day. You crazy. Um, yeah, Rod Justice is exactly what I said. If Nas is pizza, I am tired of pizza. I want tacos or Chinese food. And that's the beauty. That's why I like the back in the day when we had all kind of different artists all playing at one time. The variety was just so much. Um, if Nas is pizza, you're tired of pizza. That's exactly my analogy. Rod Justice, we are here. Um, if you want something different, there's plenty of stuff to listen to. But you gotta give Nas and Preem a shot. You gotta give that album a shot. Just on the fact of what it is. Um, let's see. Flochi says Writers was ill. Graph heads are gonna love it. Writers was ill. Um, I love Nas, but the King's Disease was too much. Could have made that one album. I always agree that I think some artists put out too much. I agree with that. I think if he had King Disease was like what, 3 albums or 4 albums? Maybe if he had took the best of those 4 and made one, who knows? Juggernauts. The new album is straight fire, but nothing will ever sound like how Guru and Premier collaborated as Gangstar. And that is true. Guru's voice in itself was so distinctive, and his flow was very simple, which allowed Preem to do a whole bunch of craziness, scratching, weird, different sounds. Preem was so experimental when it came to Gangstar, and it worked because Guru's so simple. Um, I say again, don't compare it to Gangstar. Listen to it for what it is in 2025. Does Nas sound like Nas? Does Preem sound like Preem? And do they sound good together, like peanut butter and chocolate? Don't compare it to Guru. Don't compare it to Illmatic. Mike Rock says, I gotta check this out. This Nas joint is stirring up emotions. Yeah, that's the goal. Uh, let's see. CMC, thank you so much. The Billy Jones sample on New York State of Mind, Part 3. I heard that, and I was wondering, how did they do that? Billy Joel let them get that off? Wonder what the budget was for this album. Because they got samples on there. And for an album like this, I know they cleared it. I don't know anything. I hope they cleared it. Um, but yeah, they used a nice piece of Billy Joel. Rich says, I only listened to Nas when he was Nasty Nas, to be honest. So you only listen to one Nas album then, basically. Oh, man. Engage VR, where you been? Salute to the chat. Um, Chris Morales says, I Am is still crazy to me. That whole album should have had videos. I like, Nas always has records that I like, even if, and that's how I look at it. But everyone has their own opinion. Spook Realm says, I would still love to hear another Shootouts, and I Gave You Power. So I Gave You Power was so ridiculous. This is a good point, platform. Hey, Kenny, when you think of Illmatic came out at a time when hip hop had a current sound, and that sound was represented to the fullest with Illmatic, this new album doesn't have a sound of an era. Well, first of all, Illmatic almost wasn't the sound of an era. It was almost a sound that defined the era, that created the era. You had the guys who were crafting the new sound in '93 at the top of their game. You had Preem, you had Pete Rock, you had Q-Tip and Large Professor at the top of their game, and we were all young. Um, so to say it represented a time, yeah, it represented that early mid-90s. That was the greatest time of hip hop. Well, one of the greatest times. That 92, 93, and that 88. But we've had this debate a million times on here. But now the sound of this era, so he would have either had to create a new sound, new to this era, that'd be unique to this era, or maybe if some young kids are listening to it, it will represent for them this era. Because this isn't really our era now. We had our era. This era is for these Generation Z. So that's why Illmatic feels like that to us, because we was 20 something, 19, 18, whatever, when that came out. I don't know. I think they were trying to capture that era now. Let's bring that classic sound to 2025. That's what I think they were trying to do. I don't know. Um, Ilworth says, I still can't stop listening to the new Daylight. And the Preem track on Daylight, he's one of them that I think Slick Rick and is on it. One of them is ridiculous. Preem did some dope stuff on there too. Um, Preem did a lot of work this year. It's probably one of his busiest years. Charles Bombay, I think him and Kenny both played for Lincoln. You're talking about Marbury. I played with Marbury's older brother, Don. Um, Platform says, hey, Kenny, a new Big Suge premiere album is coming in the first quarter of next year. Damn, Preem had more work to do? I think it will have a better sound because Big Suge has a more grimy, dusty voice, which meshes better with Preem's beats. But I don't know, because Nas has meshed pretty well with Preem's beats over the years. Maybe it's just the beats that Nas picked. I don't know. Marquise says this time featuring Steve Miller Band. Yeah, that was dope. Um, Lord North Philly says, "What up, KP? I just grabbed my tickets for the to the AC show. You gonna be out there? I think I'm gonna go to that. I got to see your brother and P one last time. Yeah, me too. Not one last time. I don't want to say one last time, because that makes it feel like they're retiring or something's gonna happen. Um, but I'd like to see them. Although I saw PE perform a couple years ago. Um, let's see. Uh, I'm really looking to see if there's any more Nas comments before we move on. Uh, Jerome says Nas is not pizza. It's more like bodega with wings. No, I don't know, because Nas is very, very unique and ghetto. That's why I said pizza, because it's a food that's basically loved by just about everybody. But if you were to compare Nas to a food, it would have to be something very hood, but also very unique and very high end and classic tasting. Like, he would have to be like a Philly cheesesteak. I don't know if that's hood, but he would have to be like a really dope sandwich from like one of those bodega sandwiches from the one spot that make the best sandwiches in your whole neighborhood. Got the one spot with the crazy sandwich. He's that. And like, you can't get that sandwich nowhere else. It's a hood sandwich, but you can't get it nowhere else. He's like that to me. That's my opinion. Oh, let's see. Hold on. CMC. Yes, sir. Says, yo, KP, don't forget the great Eric Sermon dropped Dose uh, today, and Denzel Washington is doing the intro, which is insane. Oh, duos. I said Dose. Oh, because you have it spelled backwards. Um, I've seen him talk about it. Big fan of Eric Sermon, of course. This is a whack day to drop it though, with Nas and Preem. It's a whack day to drop it. I would have liked to have seen him push that back a week or come up earlier a week so it can get its proper listen without competition like that. But shout out to the Duos album. And I gotta go check that. Um, because I love Eric Sermon's music, man, and rhymes. Um, Rod Justice says, "Yeah, Ken, you're right. I think they know their audience, and they were making the album for us. Yeah, they're making the album for people who've been saying we want another Nas. We like when Nas and Preem get together, like Illmatic, like I Gave You Power, like Nas is like those people that been crying. They gave them that album for those people that want Nas is like. That's really what it's more like. It's not more like Illmatic. It's more like Nas is like. That's what it's like to me. Yes. If you like Nas is like, it's like that. And for the people that been crying, um, here you go. Oh man. I hope I'm still friends with Preem after this. I'm not dissing. I'm saying it's dope. I hope he doesn't take it away. JMC, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Says, do you agree Big Daddy Kane started the multiple producers on one album? He had Marley Marl, Prince Paul, Teddy Riley, and Easy Mo B on his album. I don't think he started it. See, my argument always is who was the first and who set the trend. Because you could be the first at something, but it didn't catch on or was dope just for you. That's why I always talk about game-changing moments in hip hop. Might not necessarily be the first, but it be the one that stuck, that everyone duplicated. So when Kane had that album where he had Marley, did most of it, he had Prince Paul, Teddy Riley, so and so. There wasn't a wave of multiple producers on albums after that. It was still mainly one person produced, usually the DJ, one person produced the whole album. Because even if you look at Illmatic dropped in what, 94? Um, when did that drop? Did it drop in 94? Return of the Boom Bap had multiple producers on it. Matter of fact, Sex and Violence had multiple producers. KRS produced on there, I produced on there, Prince Paul produced on there, Pal Joey produced on there, D Square produced on there. I'm forgetting somebody else. That album had multiple producers, and Return of the Boom Bap had Preem, had KRS, it had Showbiz, it had Kid Capri, and none of those albums set the tone. But when Illmatic, when they did it, after that, everybody said, I need to get multiple people on an album, which I think was not a good thing. I don't think that was a good thing. I think it was good for Illmatic, but I don't think it was a good thing necessarily. Rich Shot, do you ever think about when you're out of here? uh, yes. As you get older, you think about it a lot. Um, but yes, I do. But for me, I still have so many things I still want to do creatively that I don't feel like I'm out of here, but we'll see. You just keep, if you love it, you just do it, even if there's no money, even if your audience is small. If your audience is 5 people and you love it, you'll rock your 5. Rock your 5, man. Uh, I see you guys talking about basketball a lot on here. I haven't really got to those comments because we've been talking about Nas, but I'm going to see if I can move on. Nas has chosen many crummy beats over the years. I don't. That's what people say. I don't know if I agree with crummy. Matt Pina, shout out to all the mass holes and the rewind crew. Big up to the rewind crew, and please hit the like button when you get a chance. Um, let's see. Um, MC Underdog Rising says, waiting for a new subwoofer to arrive before I give the Nas album a listen. Yeah, that'd be dope to put it up on some real bumping sound system. Um, Bebo Jones says, Kenny, did you see Eric Sermon say he almost signed a Wu-Tang back in the day? Yeah, I've seen him have interviews where he said a whole bunch of people brought him demos. And he said Big, he had everybody. He's talking about Big, bunch of different people he said he had in his, because you got to imagine, they've been hot since 88. And he's been a producer. And when artists are shopping their demos, they take them all over the place. I've heard many stories of many people had certain artists and it didn't work out. Yeah. Now it worked out the way it was supposed to work out. Um, hold on. I'm changing the size so I can see better. Uh, so I'm just looking for comments. I'm gonna move on from the Nas. I feel like I've talked about the Nas a lot. And here go another Nas comment. Hey, Kenny, I feel like the new Nas Primo album Premiere didn't use the MPC 60 and didn't get Eddie Sancho to engineer it. That's why it didn't have the dusty, grimy 90s sound, which I think most fans want. I mean, D&D Studios, I don't know, it was something about their tape machines. I don't know, that place was just grimy. I've been to Preem's new studio, the one he uses. Well, he was moving when I was there last. That was last year, I think. Um, but I was at his studio. Um, I don't know if this album doesn't sound grimy. I gotta listen to it again. You're saying it's not grimy enough? Um, no fucks given, like that name. Yeah, the Daylight album and the Mobb Deep album was fire this year too. Surprised Light Years didn't have more features. You know what though? In a way, I'm happy it didn't. I want Premier and Nas, man. I want Nas. I don't want, because there's been albums where there's 12, 15 songs, and it turns out the artist really only rapped one verse on like nine of the songs, and then he might have a song with two verses or something. He's not really on it. I don't like a lot of features. I like a couple features, but I want to hear the really good. When you talk about the greatest of all time, when we talk about artists that's in that GOAT category, these guys have made albums that's just them rocking for an hour or so, and you were hanging on their every word from beginning to end, and then they did it multiple times. So to me, when we start talking about the greatest to ever touch the mic, you're supposed to be able to grab the mic and keep people's attention. Now, everybody is older. And at this point, we are so used to features that it almost seems weird when an artist is just on a song by itself. It seems weird. But that's, to me, the way it used to be and the way I think it should be. Let me hear what you got. I'd rather hear 10 songs, 12 songs of just you than have a double album with 35 features on it. That's just my opinion. Dr. Charles Bombay. Billy Joe says, Kenny, did you see the Wemby interview on Wednesday? He shouted you for changing his game. I made Wemby a star. I'm going out on a limb now. I'm going all the way out. For those that new to the channel, I've been saying that Wemby needed to take it to the hole since last year, especially the beginning of this year. And I think he heard me and decided to go to the hole and stop shooting three-pointers. And he's taken that next step up into MVP category. Rosmel, how many producers did LL's Walking with a Panther have? Great question. That not sure, but I think he had quite a few. Not sure though. That's a great question. That would have been very rare back in those days though. Let's see. MC Underdog Rising. I've heard mixed opinions on a new project from Nas. I'm going to hold back and give it a few listens first. I would say mixed opinions is good. Even I have a mixed opinion. There's some stuff on there that I love, and there's some stuff on there that to me was okay. Didn't really hit me, but the stuff that hit me was like, woo, let's go. Thanks, Rod Justice. Illmatic release date was April of 94. Yeah. And Nas had been putting out singles since when Halftime was 93. That was from the movie soundtrack. Nas really only had 9 songs on that album. Because Halftime was from the movie from the year before. The vinyl I had, I don't know about the cassette. The vinyl that I had like 10 songs on it. How many songs is on Illmatic? 10, 11? I think albums should be at that size. Let's see. That's always a myth about them Nas beats. His beats is always fire. It's just a matter of opinion. It's what you're looking for. I think people just keep saying these beats are okay, but he needs to work with Premier. This beat is cool, but he needs to work with Premier. Now here we are. Here we are. Really, El Tico says Premier Nas album was announced in 04. And we're still working on Dr. Dre Detox. I raised my kids waiting on Detox. Jesus will come back first, I guess. Yeah, Detox is never coming. But even though Dre and Snoop did put out an album last year, seemed like it came and went really quick. But I liked it. Yeah, Preem and Nas been talking and kind of gassing us up for years, but they officially said it 2 years ago, I believe. There's supposed to be a KRS and Nas album, a KRS and premiere. Supposed to have been Return of the Boom Bip. They've been talking about that since at least 08. Who knows? Let's see. Donald McCall says, Kenny, Teddy Riley helped produce many artists that helped shape the New Jack Swing era. Well, see, to me, I don't think there was a New Jack Swing era. I think he was the era. Like, people just say anything that Teddy Riley did was New Jack Swing. Like, to me, New Jack Swing was a specific sound. It was like an up-tempo R&B sound with hints of hip-hop, but it was R&B with like a lot of James Brown stabs and stuff coming in and out. That was the Teddy Riley sound. A couple people tried to bite it, but it was his sound. I don't know if it was a New Jack Swing era. It was a Teddy Riley era. Because people will be like, he did the remix to SWV when he used the Michael Jackson "Human Nature." I thought that's one of the greatest remixes ever. Right here remix, and they'll call that New Jack Swing. Like that's not New Jack Swing. They just attached Teddy Riley and New Jack Swing to him and then to the sound. But I think it had a moment. If y'all follow what I'm saying, it was a little jumbly there, but Joey Joe makes a good point. I think Nas only had one feature on his album because on Illmatic, AZ was the only feature. And I guess maybe that's why AZ was the only feature on this album. I can see where they went with that. I can see where they went with that. Rod just says, yes, that's my problem with hip hop. I've got to listen to is too many features and too many tracks. It is. It really is. And that's bothered me for a while. Matt Pina, what up? Kenny, where your brother? Where's your brother? It's my Shaba impersonation for those that don't know. Where's your brother? Oh. Sydney Rose says, Wemby consultant on deck. I should get paid. I should get paid. When Wemby gets this new contract for the maximum, he's going to get what, 50? What's the max going to be now? 50 million a year? 60 million? I could get 10% for telling him to take it to the hole. Ruckus says, Richie Ruckus says, I got that halftime 12-inch. That 12-inch is going for like 40. I remember a few years back at A1 Records, that 12-inch was like $40. That was like 10, 15 years ago. Brunswick Halftime came out in October of 92. Wow. Then the album came out in April. Wow. 92 was, like I always say, there was like an 18-month period in like 92 into 93. That was ridiculous, man. Patrick White said, I guess this is the Nas show. It's not the Nas show, but it's an important album. And I just wanted to, really touch on it. And not just skim past it. And plus I just listened to it. So yeah, and if you guys have any more comments on it, I will definitely read them. Bebo Jones says, I need that Return of the Boom Bip vinyl. Well, there's a Return of the Boom Bap reissue. Return of the Boom Bip was supposed to be coming, man. That would have been dope. Matt Penis says, yo, Kenny, I got an audio on cassette of BDP Live right after the LA REO Speedwagon video. KRS gave you mad props. Oh, that's dope. That's like 91. And this is crazy. Pharrell and Hugo produced SWV right here, Human Nature Remix. Pharrell chant SWD. I knew that because Pharrell also did Rump Shaker. I believe his vocals are on Rump Shaker too. So Teddy Riley had ghost producers back then. Ended up being Pharrell, made big, giant records for him. These are platinum selling records, man. Sheesh. The sound of the early to mid 90s was Primo and Pete Rock. For the most part, I would throw Tribe in there. I would throw Large Professor in there. I would throw Dr. Dre in there. And you said early to mid 90s, so you're talking about, I guess, before the Bad Boy era. I might throw RZA in there too, but definitely Preem and Pete Rock. But Lost Professor and Q-Tip was making a lot of noise back then. A lot of noise. And there's other dope guys like that don't get mentioned, like 45 King, KG from Naughty by Nature. These dudes was making banging beats, man. Eric Sermon. E-Double had a lot to do with that 90s sound too, man. Um, Joe, just as the song Teddy Riley loved to sample was Apache. Oh yeah, he should throw that in there too. And Cham, he used to have all of these sounds in there. Um, yeah, Pharrell also co-produced with Teddy Riley Rex and Effects Rump Shaker. Um, Latrice says, wow, Teddy's reach. Teddy was all over the place. Rosmel says New Jack Swing was definitely an era, 88 to 92, not a person. See, I disagree with that. Who else was doing New Jack Swing other than Teddy Riley? You had ADF, the Heavy D and the Boys. You had songs that Eddie F was doing for Heavy D that to me sounded similar to New Jack Swing. Who else? I say it was an era means that a bunch of people was doing that sound. Who else was doing a Teddy Riley sound other than Teddy Riley? You look at 88, 89, when Guy and Keith Sweat was out. That was like the heights of it. Guy, Keith Sweat. Um, even Kool Moe Dee was a little bit different, but that Belle Biv DeVoe sounding, um, if you look at hip hop back then, that wasn't really the sound. Let's debate this, Rosmel. Diane Cruz, what up? If you guys get a chance, please hit the like button. City Roll says 10% sounds good. Yeah, man. Come on, Wemby. Uh, Flochi says, I had Illmatic in 95 in the Bay Area, and people were giving me flack for listening to New York hip hop. You know, Illmatic didn't sell at first. Did y'all guys know that? Illmatic did not go gold, I think, until the second album dropped. It was written, that's the second album. It was written was the second album. That went double platinum. That had all of those big radio records on it. And then Illmatic started to sell too. If you look back then, New York was in a real drought. You look at like 93, right before Bad Boy, the only artist that was really selling big records in New York was Naughty. LL came out. LL and Run DMC. No, LL and Run DMC, but they're old. They were household names. They had like a little resurgence. Redman went gold, but it took a minute. EPMD was selling. There was a few groups selling, but a lot of the groups that we loved weren't going gold. Even Wu-Tang 36 Chambers took a minute. It took a minute for the rest of America to catch on. I could see them dissing you in the Bay Area, listening to Illmatic. It took a minute. See, we're looking at these albums in hindsight now, but at the time, because even Reasonable Doubt, that took like a year to go gold and platinum. Joey Joe says Pharrell didn't help produce Rum Shaker. He just wrote Teddy's rap verse. I heard he did the beat. Now, maybe he didn't. So he wrote the rhymes. Maybe we can clear that up. Oh, let's see. Sydney Rose, did you ever get up with graffiti? You ever tag? No, I have never wrote graffiti a day in my life. The only hip hop I have ever done was DJing. The other elements of hip hop I did not do. Like to listen to it and watch it, but I did not partake. Um, Ilroy, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Much appreciated. Says, I think if an album has at least 5 dope, unskippable headbangers, that's a job well done. No album is perfect. And I agree with that. There is no perfect album. Every album has something on it that you might be like, I don't know. But there's albums that have a lot of bangers on them, though. Like Illmatic has a lot of dope records on it. 36 Chambers, stuff like that. Um, the classic Paid in Full, Criminal Minds, It Takes a Nation. They have a lot of good records. Mostly all of them are classic records on there. But, if an artist, let me tell you something. If you could get one, if you could catch one banger, one, not only will it change your life, um, I was talking to my man Jetta. Shout out to Jetta. We was just talking about MOP yesterday, day before yesterday. He was saying that he went to see MOP. He saw MOP perform, and he said, it don't matter where you are, or what part of the world that you're in. When Annie Up comes on, it's over. And I've thrown that record on in Europe, multiple countries, America. It does it. Once you hear that in the beginning and that beat drops, it's on. And of course, MOP has had multiple dope records, but they caught one real big one. And for the rest of their lives, if they are breathing, they can go somewhere and throw on Annie Up. They have a whole catalog. But if they go somewhere and throw an Annie Up, they can eat and it's a party. I look at Pharoah Monch like that too. Super great MC. Everyone loves him. And he put out a bunch of music, but he caught one real big one with dun, 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 get your head up. Simon Says he can go anywhere in the world where there's hip hop and throw on Simon Says and it's on. And I always say, if you could just catch one big one, man, you did it. It's that hard to have a hit record. I say that all the time. People take for granted, um, people take for granted people that make multiple hits and have multiple big records. They think that's the norm. That is not the norm. Joey Joe says also the Right Here joint came about because they heard Nas' demo for It Ain't Hard to Tell when he was trying to get clearance from MJ, which is why Large Pro had to remake his beat. Oh, they heard the demo and tried to beat Large Professor to the punch. Wow. So Teddy Riley had a relationship with Michael Jackson too. Engage says Midnight Marauders, I could play all the way through. You know how I feel about Tribe. Yeah, I mean, people are gonna say you have your personals that you can play all the way through, but you know what we know what we're saying. Um Canoidian and Can Kanai Andrews. Kanai Andrews. I hope I got it right. Salute, Kenny. Salute to you. Um, how far behind am I? No, I'm at the bottom. Hold on, I'm in real time. I think this thing just jumped. That's why. I thought I was doing something special. Yeah, Onyx did go platinum in 90. 93. Onyx had a big Onyx that Slam was a big record. Onyx Def Jam was doing pretty good. I came in front because they had in 92, 93, they had EPMD, they had Redman. Both of those went gold. Run DMC went gold with a platinum single, Down with the King. And no, Run DMC's on Profile. Scratch that, but Russell affiliated. And Onyx was big too. So Def Jam was doing all right in 92, 93. Everybody else was struggling. Gregory Nez, Kenny, can you dance? In my house? Yeah. Kenny, KP, who do you think had more vinyl, Bambaataa or 45 King? I heard Africa Bambaataa's collection is unmatched. I once heard Red Alert. Now, Red Alert had so many records that they say you go to Red Alert's house, you couldn't even get in his apartment. There's so many records you couldn't even get in the apartment. He had a crib up, I believe, in Harlem. You couldn't even get in. Keep in mind, Red Alert has gotten 2 copies of every single record since he came on the radio in '83. And they said his collection is ridiculous. And he said, Bam shit is crazy. So I'm going with Bambaataa on that. Um, let's see. Rod Justice says Kenny's bucket list should include a backspin, I would die, a verse. Remember when on this channel, Prince Paul was trying to convince me to rap. A tag. I could get a tag. It's not gonna be dope, but I could do it. And a beatbox break. I could do a beatbox. It wouldn't be dope. I could do a beatbox. I could do a tag. A verse would be tough, and a backspin would be impossible. And that's KP. I was on your IG page and I saw young KP balling. Yes, you did. D-Boy Jones, is any group more Brooklyn than MOP? No. And you got to say, MOP is not just Brooklyn. They're Brownsville, which is a section of Brooklyn that is the most wildest. So I always say this for those that's not from New York. There are 5 boroughs, and the wildest boroughs are Harlem, that's Upper Manhattan, the South Bronx, Queens, but that's a small part of Queens, but basically Harlem, the South Bronx, and Brooklyn. Brooklyn is the worst out of all of the boroughs. And in Brooklyn, there are sections that's bad, and the worst of the worst is Brownsville. And that's where MOP is from. That's where Mike Tyson is from. Smith and Wesson, I believe Smooth the Hustler. Brownsville is rough. I used to be in Brownsville a little bit as a kid, and I used to play ball in Brownsville as a teenager. You didn't want to go out there. But yeah, is anybody more gangster Brooklyn MLP? No. How about some hardcore? Yeah, we like it raw. I always tell a story about being in D&D and playing pool with Billy Danzini, talking shit back and forth with Billy Danz, just having a blast. Um, I was fortunate enough to have been able to produce MOP. I did a song with Heather B called My Kind of Ninja. And there's a whole story about how that song got made. But anyway, it was on Heather's album. And I was fortunate enough to produce a song with them on it. But another day I was in the studio, I think I went to see Preem and they was in there and we got to playing pool in the little pool room, me and Billy Danz. It was so much fun. Shout out to MOP. Rest in peace to Fox, the first lady of MOP. I miss her. She's a sweetheart. Shout out to Fame. Shout out to Lazy. The whole crew. Uh, Benny Joe says, Kenny, BDP trivia. There's one line and we in there not said by KRS. Who said the line and what is it? I'm not gonna say what the line is, but I said it and Chris made me say it. So he wrote it, but I said it. Uh, I am not that far behind right now, y'all. I'm like 5 minutes behind everybody else. Can definitely listen to the Chronic all the way through. I can listen to just about all of the Chronic all the way through. Tim Storm says Flavor in Your Ears, that one record. That was a huge record. Craig Mack had some other jokes, because I think Can I Get Down? I think that went gold single. His album went platinum, I believe, and the single went gold. Can I Get Down? But Flavor in Your Ear, that kind of brought the East Coast back to prominence because the West Coast was destroying everything. And then that song launched the Bad Boy really and the East Coast sound. Shout out to Easy Mo B. Rest in peace to Craig Macadocious. Um, that was a monster record. I believe that went to like number 8 or 9 on the pop chart, Flavor in Your Ear, on a Billboard Hot 100. Um, yeah, those are records that you dream about as an artist. If you could catch one that changes your life and you can go anywhere at any time, you perform that song till you out. Rosmel says, don't sleep on Prince Marky D, Kenny. I never slept on Prince Marky D. Um, he had a song I really liked in '93 called Baby You Need to Swing My Way when he did his solo project. I used to see Prince Marky D out and about in the parties, and he always spoke to me and was always nice. And I'm a huge fan of the Fat Boys. I couldn't believe that Prince Marky D was speaking to me. It was like surreal. Like, yo, the first album I ever bought with my own money was the Fat Boys. And there's Prince Marky D, he be in a party and he be speaking to me. Crazy. I'm not sleeping on Prince Marky D. Um, let's see. What's this? Kenny, what are people in New York saying about the firing of Ebro and Peter? I didn't know they got fired. You mean fired from their show? I haven't listened to the radio in so long. I don't know what's going on. Ebro is fired, like he's off of Hot 97 altogether. This is news to me. This is news, B-Boy Jones, and I'm hearing this for the first time. I'd have to investigate that. Um, Engage VR says, I'll never forget my first time visiting Brownsville. Me either. It's in my book. It's in my book. Kenny's still dissing Queens. I'm not dissing Queens. Oh, Lord, I'm about to have beef. Listen, I'm just saying that in the scheme of New York boroughs, Queens was ill. It's just that to me, most of Queens is residential. You had your parts, I guess, like South Jamaica or with 50 and them and the Supreme Team, all of those guys, and then you had the what you call it, Queensbridge, the biggest. I think that's the biggest projects in New York City. You had some spots like Nori's always yelling left rack. I was been up to Left Rack City when I believe when I was a kid. It was nice. I mean, I'm sure there's dudes there, but Queens has got people. I'm not dissing Queens at all. I'm saying, but in the scheme of New York, and people from New York know what I'm talking about, in the scheme of just places with a lot of hood dudes, Harlem, South Bronx, and multiple places in Brooklyn. Brooklyn got the most hood spots. You're talking there's spots in Brooklyn that if you can go miles in any direction and it's just hood. Flatbush, Crown Heights, Bushwick, Fort Greene, East New York, Brownsville, Bed-Stuy. It was just what? And then I went to high school in Coney Island. They was wilding in Coney Island. Coney Island got mad projects out there. They was wilding when I was in high school. And so like Brooklyn is just different. Not dissing Queens, but those that know New York. And I'd like to see some of you guys' comments because those that's from New York, y'all tell me the pecking order. Um, Fortunately says, I always feel like I'm about to get robbed when I hear MOP. Yeah. You know what's funny? Annie Up is a whole song about robbery. It's the funniest thing. Nah, Kenny is not dissing Queens. Kenny said Queens got the best MCs B-ball. Queens really, pound for pound, Queens might have the dopest MCs. Farmers Boulevard. See, I've been to these places, Farmers Boulevard and stuff, and you know, Run DMC and all them from LL. It's hood up there, but it ain't like. Just walk through Brownsville one time. Even now, New York is so gentrified now that it doesn't even look. I was in Bed-Stuy the other day. I was shocked. I was standing literally on the corner where Biggie used to rap. It's Christopher Wallace Way now. Biggie has his own street named after him. It's Christopher Wallace Way, right on Fulton Street. And I used to live down the block as a teenager from Biggie. And there's 3 murals of Biggie right on that corner, giant murals. That is dead center Bed-Stuy. If I showed you Bed-Stuy right now, you'd be shocked. I was there like 2 days ago. Couldn't believe it. Kenneth Smith says, respect MOP, but hold up. Helter Skelter, Brownsville, Ruck and Rock was nuts. Yeah. I forgot they was from Brownsville. I know Smith Weston was. Yeah. I'm trying to tell y'all, but you know what? I'm going to get in trouble in here. Rod Justice says, I've never heard the Chronic in my life. Wow. Patrick Watts says, shout out and RIP to Sherry, aka Fox from MOP. We used to hang out in the late 80s, early 90s around Kingsbridge Towers in the Bronx. Kingsbridge Terrace in the Bronx. Fox was such a sweet soul, man. I remember when she used to do security at the clubs. And then she hooked up with MOP and was everywhere. They used to do Annie Up. You used to see Fox right on stage with them. Loved her, man. Latrice says, I was wondering if there were any female rappers in MOP. Like she was, I don't know if she ever rapped on a record, but she was in the crew. There was a Sean P and Master Aces from Brownsville. I just found out Master Aces from Brownsville the other day. I was watching a Master Ace interview and he said he's from Brownsville. I was like, whoa. Um, let's see. Marky D was a ladies' man. He's bagged a few. I'm pretty sure. The Fat Boys were gigantic. Rod Justice, yes, Ebro Darter's long-running Ebro in the Morning show with Peter Rosenberg and Laura Stiles has ended at Hot 97 as of December 12th, 2025. That's today. Wow. What are they going to replace it with? And Ebro quit the program director job he created that morning show just for him, I believe. Wow. B-Boy Jones is Kew Gardens is hood. Never been out to Kew Gardens. Gregory Ness says, I'm from Queens and South Jamaica and Far Rockaway is nuts. I'm South Jamaica has a big reputation. Far Rockaway, I'm pretty sure it's nuts. I'm not saying Queens. See, y'all gonna make me. You see, y'all gonna make it seem like I'm not saying Queens is hard. It is. I'm just saying relative to other parts of New York. Thank you, Patrick Y. Take away Queensbridge, and Queens is mostly residential. Toughest areas: Brooklyn, Harlem, South Bronx. That's what I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say. Queens is mostly residential. There's a couple spots that's ill, but Brooklyn, man, Brownsville. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Let me scroll down a little bit. Come after DC mentioned Brownsville on his Brooklyn's in the house. Brownsville, home of the brave. Yeah, I agree with this, C Mac. Brownsville and East New York pink houses probably are tied for the grimiest. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. East New York is like number two in Brooklyn. East New York, man, and unfortunately, as a child, I lived in all of these places. Please, y'all get the book. The audio's coming in another couple weeks. Please get it so y'all can understand what I'm talking about. We grew up in all of these places. Um, and in Flatbush, in Flatbush, Jamaicans was off the hook. Y'all remember Vanderveer projects? Anybody? Yo, yo, this is funny. It is gentrified. I heard Colin Quinn say the subway car looked like a ski lift. Yo, the subway train going to Bed-Stuy looks like a ski lift now. Yo, that might be the funniest thing I've heard of the day. Says, yeah, gentrification has softened all of these areas, but I know the area you're talking about, KP. Yes, thank you, man. Thank you. Rosamel says Far Rock, Queensbridge, Baisley, Left Rack, South Ozone Park, and Flushing are all messed up places to live in Queens. I used to hang out in Flushing a little bit. There's a lot of houses in Flushing. It's rough, but I've never been to South Ozone. Ozone. I've been up in Left Rack. Queensbridge, I'll give Queensbridge all the nod. Queensbridge is wild. And Far Rock, I heard, but I never really been to their projects or whatever. And of course, South Jamaica, where 50 of them is from, is wild too. Um, I just don't want to get in no trouble on here. People saying I'm dissing Queens, and I am not. Gregory Dennis says Brooklyn is the Debo Friday of New York. You'll be right. That's exactly what Brooklyn is. Debo. If y'all know the movie Fridays, the other boroughs are hood. It's hood, but Brooklyn is Debo. Brooklyn ruined every single party in New York. Every party Brooklyn ruined. Oh, we're in overtime. Big up to everybody. We're in overtime. For those that's just checking in, this is the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please hit the like button so we can bring more people to the channel. We're just talking about hip hop. We usually talk about basketball. I haven't talked about basketball that much today. We were talking about Nas's album a lot, as we should. And right now we're talking about the illest boroughs. Uh, Patrick White said, I remember when I was about 10, my mom used I guess, to take us to Brooklyn, Sutter Avenue Station. Lord. Even then, you could feel the scariness, and it always looked dark. I didn't think the sun shined in BK. Yeah, those are some rough stations, man. Chris Morale, Fox had a song called "The Game's Been Fixed" on the Marksman Cinema. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, that's good news. Um, this thing says piece of Soundview. Oh, Soundview was wild. But actually, let me not get in any trouble. I used to be up in Soundview with my brother when we were teenagers. He used to live in a group home in Soundview, so I used to be up there all the time. Soundview, we used to be up there by Stevenson High School. For those that know, um, the Bronx, we used to be up there by Stevenson. Soundview was nice, except for that one projects. I think where Lord Tariq and Lord Tariq is from. They was over there bucking. That one dude, I don't want to say his name, got like 100 years in prison. Pete. Um, I said his name anyway. Um, they was bugging in that project. Soundview was bugging. That's the Bronx once again. They Soundview projects. DJ Dirty says 40 Project, basically. I heard of 40 Project. Yes. Um, See, you trying to start trouble, Cable Guy says Queens is fluffy. Queens is not fluffy. Queens is not fluffy at all. It's just relative to the other boroughs. Gregory Ness says Queens is the biggest borough in New York. Um, Lethal says, ain't Brian Glaze Gibbs from Pink Houses? I believe, didn't he? I think he's from East New York. He had like a whole, I think he had the Pink Houses like on lockdown. I look at his podcast sometimes, very interesting, Brian Glaze Gibbs. Good day, good day, good day. I look at a lot of his stuff. Never met him, but he's a legendary street dude. Um, Rosmel says, beware of Red Fern projects in Far Rock. Oh, that's the projects that's crazy. Um, Hypestyle says Detroit doesn't have boroughs, just East Side, West Side. Yeah, it seems like Chicago has their East Side, West Side. It seems like a lot of places have East and West. We're not broken up like that. We're more like different boroughs. Killer Swift says, Kenny, that audiobook's starting to feel like the Detox album. It really does. I agree 100%. I agree. I agree. Yeah, Pistol Pete Soundview. I didn't really want to say his name, but and there's two Pistol Pete's, right? There's one that's down with Fat Joe, and there's one from Soundview. Um, them dudes was that was a whole different time in New York, but wow, Kashante Che says, I feel like Nas makes gentrified albums. Not my cup of tea is all. Wow. You think this new album is gentrified? Wow. Gregory Ness says, yo, Kenny, you remember tokens when you take the subway? Of course. I had a train pass in high school. Flash your train pass and you get on for free. Jason Wallace is funny. He says, I once dated a Puerto Rican girl from East New York. I was like, what part is that? She said East New York. I'm like, yeah, but what's it called? That is kind of weird for a spot in Brooklyn to be called East New York. Uh, that is weird, but it's called East New York and it's right next to Brownsville. Roswell, Puerto Rican Pistol Pete is Terror Squad. Yeah. Big up to the Terror Squad. I don't think I've met anybody from the Terror Squad except for Fat Joe. off the top of my head. Oh, Pun, of course, that was the man. I met Pun through Fat Joe. Um, yeah, that's the only Terror Squad people I've ever met. I'm at the very bottom, y'all. I'm seeing all the comments in real time. We are in overtime. Um, let's see. Yeah, Gergen, if you go to California, there's gangs everywhere. Be careful of what color you wear. The first time I heard about, remember when Ice-T came out with Colors, in '88? I had no idea what he was talking about. Like, colors, what are you talking about? Gang color, they wear different colors. We did a show. First time I went to Los Angeles, 1990, and they were saying that you cannot wear blue or red. And they said LL Cool J had a red troop suit on that he came out to LA with, and he had problems out there with this red troop suit on. So I was like, okay, everybody had on like black or whatever. And I remember we had a show, and they had like a rope in the middle of the club, like a divider rope. And on one side was red and one side was blue. They all came in peace to the BDP show, but they were in red and blue, and you could see, and like they were doing these signs in the air, and I'm like, what are they doing? And they're like making these like signs in the air, and I'm up on stage looking at this like, what is this? And they're like, that's their gang signs or whatever. And I'm like, it looked crazy to me. A whole red and blue, like split down the middle. It was signs, and I'm like, and later on, I started to understand more what the culture was. But coming from New York, I had no clue. No clue. Cachimano says, You God's mom got robbed by Mike Tyson in Brownsville. Yeah, I think I saw that story. They said Mike Tyson got arrested 30 times by the time he was like age 13 or 12. By the time Customato found him, he was like 13. He had been arrested 30 times. And Mike Tyson, I always see he tell the story about how he grew up in Brownsville. I mean, he grew up in Bed-Stuy first, which is a super rough neighborhood. Bed-Stuy, do or die. That's where Biggie's from. That's where Jay-Z is from. He said he grew up there, and he said when his family moved to Brownsville, he said he couldn't believe it. And he was coming from Bed-Stuy to Brownsville. He was like, oh, hell no. He said he got bullied a lot. Yeah, but Mike Tyson was wild, man. Um, yeah. All right. Well, this is interesting. Casey Ligon. LL Cool J said he secretly visited pink houses in all the boroughs while wearing his mask during the pandemic. He said he wanted to reconnect with his past. He's a multi-millionaire superstar. Um, but L used to hang out with all of the hustlers back in the day. I got an ill LL Cool J story. The first time I ever saw LL was in Latin Quarters. I got an ill LL story in the book. First time I ever saw him was crazy. It was craziness going on. L was real, man. The L I saw was real. It's in the book. Um, Shout out to LL Cool J. I haven't seen him in a long, I haven't seen LL probably since oh something. Um, Me and L has always been cool though. But I didn't know that. We're deep in overtime. I'm seeing comments in real times, for the most part. Yeah, Bebo Jones has said now there's Crips in New York. I never would have dreamed that that would have come to New York. Rap Hugs Given, Nap Hugs Given says red and blue in the crowd, but y'all were green. We was red, black, and green. Um, we never had any problems in none of the hoods because what KRS was talking about and the conscious music that he was bringing, it transcended all of the drama. Like all of the street dudes, we would go places, we had no security, nothing. We just be jumping out of cars, going and we in all kind of hoods. And everybody loved him and would just be like, peace, Chris, peace, because what he was talking about was different. Now, if you came in people's hoods talking about how tough you were or trying to take somebody's girl, then you had problems. People Jones says Colors was 86. Really, I remember that video in 88. I don't know, maybe it was 86. I remember the video in 88, so that's when it was 88 for me. Um, the stage says, I played JUCO B-ball with a dude from Brownsville, and we used to argue on the court. Them dudes, man. Mike Rock says, respectfully, what are pink houses? Pink houses is a projects. I can't remember how it got its name. Is it named after somebody with the last name Pink? I don't remember how Pink Houses got the name, but the Pink Houses is a project. It's an official. New York has a bunch of projects, hundreds of them, and they're all wild, or they used to be. And the Pink Houses, I believe, was in East New York. You did not want to go into Pink Houses, man, under no circumstances. Um, Patrick Watts says, KP, I got to reread your book. I don't remember the LL story. Yes, it's Latin Quarter era. 49 Neil, what up? 49 Nell. Um, yeah, Pink Houses is a projects. Yes. Uh, I went in Fort Greene projects. I don't know if I told this story on this channel. When I was 16, either I was 16 or just turned 17. I think I was 16, about to be 17, and I went into the Fort Greene projects by myself to see this girl. And it was a disaster. I don't know what I was thinking. I almost got killed in there. Um, let's see. Well, this is interesting. I'm from Colonial Grounds, but nobody knew us because Polo Grounds was next door wilding. The Polo Grounds, yeah. Any project that you talking about, Harlem, I believe. Any projects, Polo Grounds is in Harlem. Yeah. Yeah, Polo Grounds is in Harlem. Um, growing up in the projects in New York is just an unbelievable. It changes you. You'll never forget that experience. I didn't even grow up in the projects. I grew up around the projects. I used to play ball in a lot of projects. Um, it's different in there, man. You can't go into projects if you don't know somebody. And I went into Fort Greene projects. I don't know what I was doing. Gregory says, be careful, Kenny, with going there by yourself. I would never go. Right now, I wouldn't go in Fort Greene projects by myself. Um, Rosmo said Fort Greene projects is extremely rat infested. Word? Like inside people's house? When you say rat infested, do you mean rats running around outside? Because that's crazy in New York. Or do you mean coming in people's house? I don't play with rats, bro. Um, I just because I don't know what I was thinking is the name of Kenny's song. No, all he needs is his track and verses. This song about going to Fort Greene to see a girl. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah. I'm gonna tell a story real quick and I'm gonna jump off. Um, hold on. Best white T music playlist says you got rats in your house. That's some third world shit. Yeah, New York, man. Engage says New York rats don't care. They'll come in your crib. Please read my book, y'all. I got all the rat stories you need. um, I'm gonna tell this story real quick before I jump off. Um, I met this girl. Now I think I was 16, and she told me I was living in Bed-Stuy. I was living about 5 blocks from where Biggie grew up, same area. And she told me to go to Fort Greene. She lived in Fort Green's projects. Come check her out. So Fort Greene projects from where I lived is probably about a 15-minute, 20-minute walk. So I walked to Fort Greene projects, and I'm coming in the projects. And as you turn into this projects, there's this gates on both sides, and the gates weren't really that high. They probably were like 4 feet gates, 3 or 4 feet on both sides. And there was dudes sitting on each side of the gates going all the way down, just like say 15 dudes on one side and 15 dudes on the other, and you had to walk in between them to come into the projects. But of course, I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking I'm going to see this girl. I'm gonna go in there. So I walked in between these dudes, and I can hear them saying, "Yo, we should get him. Yo, we should get him. Nah, don't mess with him. Nah, let's get him. Yo, pass me the 2-2." So now I'm hearing somebody behind me. This is right by my ear, debating on should they get me or not. And somebody passed them the 22. I'm like, yo, and there's like 30 of them. And I'm walking and they're debating. And in my mind, I'm like, just don't turn around, because if you turn around, then you're gonna be like, okay, the debate is over. So I just kept walking like I didn't know what was going on. And all I heard was, give me the 22, blah, blah, nah, chill, nah, get him. And then I just kept going. And I went into the building and I went up to the girl's house. And I'm like, yo, as soon as I came in there, I was like, yo, I'm never, ever, ever coming to visit you ever again. Matter of fact, I'm leaving now and I need you to walk me downstairs. And she was like, what's the problem? I'm like, yo, all these dudes just hanging out in front of the building and they acting like they wanted to ride me. And she's going, oh, that's just Pookie and JoJo and Ray Ray. Like she's saying all these things. Oh, that's just, I'm like, yeah, that's Pookie to you. To me, that's a guy with a 22. I was like, yo, she's like, there's a back way we could go out. So we took the elevator back down. I went out the back way and never, ever, 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 ever saw her again. But I got caught up messing around at Fort Green's projects, bugging. So that's my Fort Greene project story. Um, the original 50 Cent and all of those guys that's on the back of the Eric B. and Rakim Paid in Full album, they're all from the Fort Greene projects. First post, that story sounds like a Mobb Deep song. Yeah, it's a real project. I mean, it's a real story. Once upon a time in the projects, yo. Charles Bombay says, come on, Pam, walk me out of here. No, that's funny. No, it wasn't Pam. It wasn't. I was like 16 when this happened. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that as my final story. Mike Rock says New York rats are the size of squirrels. Yeah, and we've had this conversation before when they was talking about who had this. One of the exterminator companies had their rankings of the most rat infested cities in the country, and New York was number 2. and I was like number two, and they had Chicago at one, and I was like, there ain't no way that a city could beat New York. But people have said on this channel that the Chicago rats are real too, because New York got miles and miles and miles of subways, tunnels under the city, so there's just a rat heaven. I'm like, there's times in New York in the summertime that you got to walk in the street late at night. You can't walk on the sidewalk because they're everywhere. And I'm like, Chicago beat us? What y'all doing in Chicago? And it's cold in Chicago. Gregory Dennis says, did you kiss her, Kenny? I didn't kiss her. I didn't do nothing. As soon as I came upstairs, I told her I'm leaving. I didn't even, I was like, yo, I got to get up out of here. Like, how am I going to leave here? Joe says, KP is like, I'm never, ever, 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 ever coming back to your house. Exactly. All right, y'all. I'm about to get out of here. That's just a funny story I just thought about. Uh, Mike Rock says, damn, them Chicago rats must be the biggest dogs. Hell yeah. For New York to come in at number two, I don't know what y'all doing in Chicago, bro. I don't know what y'all doing in Chicago. Somebody from Chicago, please tell me. Um, or Tuesday, God willing, we'll be back on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Somebody from Chicago, please let me know what the rats are doing over there, because um, there's no way. Um, Scientific says, Mystique says, Mystic says the mice low key run the city. Really, low key, the mice do run the city. There's mad rats. Did you know that I read that where there's rats, there's no mice? Like rats and mice are really a different species, and that rats eat mice. So if there's rats, there's no mice because the rats will eat the mice. But on low key, mice do run the city, but them rats, yo. All right, I'm out of here. We talking about rats. We just really went down a rabbit hole. Your trouble said, yo, oh, that's just Pookie. Yeah, man. She named all these dudes like I grew up with them, like you grew up with them. All right, I'm out of here, y'all. Let me make this smaller. Make sure I got seen everything. All right, I will catch you guys on Tuesday, God willing. All right, I'm out of here. Peace, y'all.